Guys, I got a fan question. Take a listen to this and I'm going to respond.
Hi, Chael. Is it ever possible that a fighter can have almost too much technique, that they can be so talented in so many different disciplines that they can actually come unstuck when they fight a fighter with a more simple, effective style, because they become overwhelmed with the options available to them? I'd love to know what you think of this.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Look, that's everybody's first thought coming in, right? And you can't blame anybody. When you're going into something new sport, new gym, particularly martial arts, where it's kind of a never-ending pool. It's one of those, the old adage, right when you think you know all the answers, I change the questions. But that's a very real thing. I mean, it is growing and evolving. You could go have a black belt and in many ways know nothing about the sport. I mean, it take you 10 years to get a black belt, take you 10 years more to learn all the things that you don't know, and you've already got a black belt. I'm just offering for you, the sport changes constantly, the nuances changes constantly, the strategies change constantly, so you can see where somebody, by a way of motivation and having fun, is going to want to go out there and extend their repertoire on technique. You can see where they're going to have fun doing that, where the sport would not be stagnant doing that. Now, you asked if that can have basically a diminishing return, and the answer is yes. The more you know or the more that you want to know can be a problem, particularly when you start learning what I call clinic moves. If you ever go take a clinic or you go take a seminar, they are going to show you moves in there that you will never see in a competition. You don't see them in competition because they don't work. But boy, are they cool to look at. In slow motion with the sensei or the coach or the professor or the instructor out there teaching you this, he can sure look like a brilliant mind. Now, if you try to go and apply that, it doesn't work. This is a very real concept, and many people will come in. I've heard this from some top fighters. I'll leave names out of it. Some top fighters, names you'd respect, that believe if you go into martial arts, you need to know everything about boxing offensively, but you also need to know everything defensively. You need everything about kickboxing offensively, but you also need to know defensively. You need to know taekwondo offensively, but you also must know the defense, and the karate offense, and the karate defense, and the jiu-jitsu offense, and the jiu-jitsu defense. No, you don't. Broad strokes. Find out what works for you and then go out there and do it. I mean, that's really the key to life, but particularly in sport. The things that you are going to use in competition today are not things you learned 10 days ago. It's going to be things that you learned 10 years ago. That's a very real thing. What I'm offering for you is, while you may go out there and you may learn a whole lot of things, you also need to learn what works for you. The greats are going to have no more than 3 moves, but they will have a number of ways to set those moves up. The greats are going to have no more than 3 positions, but they're going to have many ways to get into those positions. It wasn't as though Mike Tyson didn't know how to throw a jab. It wasn't as though Mike Tyson didn't know how to throw a straight to the body. Mike Tyson just liked and was very good at 4 or 5 different ways to dip, throw that uppercut, and turn it into a hook. He didn't have to do it all the same. He did not need his opponent to throw a straight at him and he slips outside and he comes underneath. That was only one of his setups. He could also hide that behind a jab. He could also hide that behind a bob and a weave. The greats will only have 3 techniques that they use in competition. That's it. But they'll have many ways to set it up. So if you want to go grow your repertoire, and I would never want to encourage you to close down, have an open mind. And that new move that's going to pop in, or the new way to do it, or a new way to turn your hips, something very subtle and slow that perhaps you hadn't considered because you hadn't been taught it before, is something that you could add to your game even later in life. But to make believe that you need to go in and have a black belt in 5 different disciplines before you go out and try something, look, there's nothing that will teach you how to do something more than just going out and doing it. And I will tell you, I know plenty of guys that stick around college. They go get their degree, then they get a master's degree, then they need another master's degree, and then maybe they pursue a PhD, and maybe they get an internship. God, you can do all of those things, or you can just go start doing it. Whatever the field, you can go that route. It's not a bad route for experience in your youth, but at some point, just go jump in. You will make more mistakes in the first week and learn more within that week and those mistakes than you're ever going to learn through reading about it in a textbook. So I would only share for you that while you want to have an open mind, you also want to be very good at identifying what is it that I do best? What are my favorite positions? What are my favorite controls? How am I going to get to those positions, and how am I going to secure those controls?